All right, let's clear things up. As early as the beginning of the year, everyone was excited about the huge chance that XRP would reach $10,000. Also, guess what? That guess has just become much more accurate. Larry Fink from BlackRock is officially supporting this. Think about this. There's more to it than just $10,000 per XRP. Sorry. He's making the point that it's a basic need. Welcome back to the place where you can find everything about XRP. Before we get into the meat of today's post, let's quickly catch up. Please do me a small favor. Tap the like button, subscribe, and bell button to become a part of our wonderful group. Also, here's a heads up. Things are getting ready for a huge XRP freebie as it's really easy to enter the giveaway. Just do these 3 easy things. Okay, watch out and be ready. To make sure you get into the giveaway, don't forget to leave a code for MoneySide in the comments. This is where it gets juicy. Imagine that big names in finance like BlackRock and Vanguard are now seriously thinking about using XRP for their foreign transactions. Don't worry, things will get better. There are rumors that BlackRock will release an ETF that focuses on XRP. You did hear that right. There's more though. That was not all Larry Fink did. He's looking at the huge real estate market, which is worth $30 trillion. Can you guess what the future holds for it? That's it. The XRP system, all set to turn everything into tokens. A huge $1.2 quadrillion from the International Swaps and Traders Association is also going to flow through the XRP system and ripple net. There's more to it than just $10,000 per XRP. That's how kids play. The value of each XRP could go through the roof, reaching as much as $60,000. Wow, that's really cool. Let us move on to the next part. Another big surprise came from Larry Fink of BlackRock. There's more to him than just alking. Things are about to get really big for Ripple and its digital currency XRP. Everything will be tokenized, and the next part of our movie has a clip that will get people's attention. The move by BlackRock toward an XRP ETF was confirmed by Larry Fink himself. Let's not wait any longer. Feel free to watch this clip now. Adding a Bitcoin ETF is one way that we're making it official, making things safer. Do you have another ETF? What about an XRP ETF? You have Ether out there, I know that. What about XRP? Could you answer that? I can't. Do you not want me to answer that? Sure, I'm afraid I can't. Okay, they're making fun of me. We've seen a lot of strange things happen in the crypto world lately, mostly when it comes to XRP. Think about this. Crypto.com, XRP's value went through the roof and reached an amazing $43,000. $43,000 on the world-famous market. This isn't a one-time thing. This is part of a rising trend of XRP's value going up without warning. Remember last week when we talked about a $7,000 XRP bug at a major exchange? Now it's Crypto.com's turn, and it looks like these sudden price jumps for XRP are happening all the time on different markets. Moving on to something else, though. Something else I learned from doing a lot of study that is just as interesting but has nothing to do with BlackRock or the XRP market surge in general. We're going to talk about Gary Gensler, the famous SEC head who took over for Jake Clinton. Gensler always puts XRP in the security category, which most of you may already know. This is where it gets interesting. Robert M. Gensler is Gary Gensler's identical twin brother. They are the same age and look a lot alike. As vice president of T. Rowe Price, Robert is a very important person there. If you look a little more closely, you'll see that T. Rowe Price isn't just any investment company. It's one of the biggest ones that is putting a lot of money into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and yes, XRP. So, there's an interesting link here. Gary Gensler, who is in charge of the SEC, keeps calling XRP a security. However, his twin brother is very involved with an investment company that has a lot of money invested in XRP and other cryptocurrencies. It's an interesting contrast that makes me wonder about the complicated dynamics at play in the world of cryptocurrency investments and laws. Now we come to an exciting option. Could Robert Gensler, vice president of T. Rowe Price, know something that no one else does about XRP's possibilities, like they do about Bitcoin and Ethereum? When you think about how much the company has invested in these 3 cryptocurrencies, this idea starts to make sense. In public, the SEC says there is no such thing as insider trading, but many stories and investigations have shown that there is. These investigations, which have mostly been about market manipulation and insider trading, have frequently shown that the SEC is doing things that aren't right. It looks like a pattern is starting to form. It looks like SEC employees are telling their friends and family about which digital assets might soon no longer be considered stocks. Then, these family members spend early, When the asset is publicly declared non-security, its value goes through the roof, making these family and friends rich by buying low and selling high. In this situation, let's think about the chance that Robert N. Gensler got inside information from his brother Gary Gensler about how the SEC might lose a case against XRP. This kind of information could mean that Congress wants Ripple Labs and the SEC to reach a deal. Smart buyers should jump at this chance to view XRP. But seeing the T. Rowe price send more money into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and most importantly XRP adds another layer to this story. The cryptocurrency community is talking a lot about how XRP could hit unbelievable highs like $10,000, $20,000, or even $60,000. Analysts who have been bullish on XRP, like Jack the Rippler, think its value will skyrocket and could even go over $589. Even though this prediction is very bold, it shows how much people are interested in and guessing about XRP and its possibilities in the cryptocurrency market. Wall Street wants a piece of the XRP pie because it's so profitable. And my guess? An XRP ETF will be the first big play. But let's look into it more than just the surface of this change. Crypto Basic has some interesting news for us. An analyst says that JP Morgan has made a big move into XRP, which has caught the attention of a former head of Ripple. I had to raise an eyebrow at this discovery, and we need to talk about it. This is how the story goes. Ben Armstrong, who used to work for the BitBoy crypto brand, brought up some controversial comments about JP Morgan's alleged investment in XRP, which made an ex-Ripple director respond. Armstrong, a well-known person in the crypto world, wrote a series of posts about this. He says that JP Morgan has bought a huge amount of XRP tokens, 7.5 million of them, and now Armstrong says that this move is worth about 7.5% of JP Morgan's entire wealth. But wait, this math doesn't make sense at all. To give you an idea of how much 7.5 million XRP is worth now, 4.46 million doesn't even come close to 7.5% of JP Morgan's wealth. Armstrong's math doesn't quite work out when you consider that JP Morgan's overall assets are a huge $3.89 trillion as of 2023. Even so, Armstrong stresses how important it is that JP Morgan is supposedly stockpiling XRP as part of a plan. His opinion is that this makes JP Morgan an up-and-coming Bitcoin powerhouse. So far, we've heard that big Wall Street banks like JP Morgan might be interested in making moves in crypto, especially with XRP. Also, the math may not be very good, but the thought of big banks getting into crypto is something that shouldn't be ignored. It's part of a bigger trend where traditional banking and digital currencies are coming together, and XRP is at the center of some very interesting changes. Armstrong's strong words have also brought attention to BlackRock, the biggest name in asset management. People are upset because he says BlackRock is now interested in XRP for its financial portfolio after getting its iShares Bitcoin ETF approved. That was not the end of Armstrong. He is also paying close attention to the current legal battle between Ripple and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. Thoughts? These huge financial companies are investing in XRP even though the court case is still going on. This shows that they have faith in XRP's bright future. Think about what would happen if this trend of gathering were real. It would mean that big names in finance are betting on XRP even though its regulations are changing all the time. Okay, so here's the deal. It was always going to happen that Wall Street would accept crypto, since more that Upbit and Coinbase fighting for best XRP net inflows, pretty much meaning to see which one comes at the top. Appreciate all the love. Let's analyze and take a look at what's happening with XRP going into Saturday morning. Looking across the board, a few handful coins are up right now, but yet again, we're seeing going into the weekend, we're seeing the broader market seeing a retracement, and that is all thanks to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has seen one of those major swings once again, which of course is having an impact on the broader market. As far as XRP's price is concerned, we're looking at about $2.81, down about 1.2% in USD. We're up about 0.1% in Bitcoin. Comparative valuation sitting at $167.5 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume still holding really nicely at about 5.5 billion. As always, just a quick disclaimer, anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So very, very key thing I want you guys to take in mind here, because what I'm about to share with you next is a very important thing that we want to kind of keep in mind. So businesses Bitcoin holdings have doubled over the last 9 months per river. So pretty much meaning, businesses, corporations that are, buying Bitcoin, that has doubled in terms of holding, and they're pretty much accumulating what this shows. And over the last 9 months, and remember what happened about that time frame, we did see Donald Trump, the new administration coming in, and since then the entire landscape for crypto has switched. But on that note, take a look at this. Whale reserves dropped by over 100,000 Bitcoin in the past 30 days, marking the largest sell-off since 2022. Very interesting. So whales that are holding BTC are actually selling BTC. So what does this mean? Does this mean that they are, locking some profits in? Because if you're looking at the Bitcoin Dominance Index, it sums everything up. Because let's go on the daily time frame. Let's give it a refresh live. It's getting a little stuck here. You can see what's been happening with the dominance. Take a look at that. Correlation. Boom. Bitcoin dominance has been on a major decline. And is that because, people are locking in profits? Bitcoin whales are locking in profits going into the likes of altcoins like Ethereum, because Ethereum has been going insane. Very interesting. But on the other side of things, corporations are buying Bitcoin like never before. And I still think a lot of people might forget this. Demand is still outweighing the supply in the long term. And once you see Bitcoin breaking towards all-time highs and, a few years down the road, we'll really see and take a look back at this and see how, early BTC was really in terms of, this adoption. And in terms of the adoption right now, these big corporations are coming into Bitcoin. Again, their main focus is to obtain as much possible. Retail tends to be more short-term driven, right? And that's not what these big corporations are doing. They're in it for the long haul, and this is where, the scarcity really comes into play. But again, very interesting take. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about what's going on. But remember, Bank of International Settlements emphasizes that a third-party currency with sufficient liquidity is essential for efficient cross-border payments. This aligns perfectly with XRP's role in Ripple's model as an independent and neutral bridge asset that removes dependence on fragmented correspondent banking. The BIS is effectively outlining the very problem XRP was built to solve. Very interesting. And if you want to watch this video, shout out to Smoke. Go watch the video on his X account. It is listed there. But just in, the SEC government and CFTC are ramping up coordination to support crypto DeFi prediction markets, perpetual contracts, and portfolio margining. The two agencies are aiming to harmonize rules, reduce regulatory gaps, and expand trading hours and use innovation exemptions to keep the U.S. markets competitive. A joint roundtable will be held September 29th to discuss next steps. And look at the timeline. FOMC meeting on the 17th. Maybe a rate cut happens by then, and then we hear maybe positive announcements. Even more, I think that could actually have a positive impact. But so I read somewhere, I don't know who posted this, and, this is going back to the way we think on the Crypto ZX channel. When everyone is expecting something to happen, you see the market makers stepping in and doing the complete opposite. So everyone is projecting, the quarter four to be quite bullish. And I still think it's going to be bullish in a grand scheme of things. But maybe we might see markets makers stepping in and, kind of shaking out the markets. So that's something you want to kind of take away from this as well. Let me know in the comments if you think that's going to happen or you think something similar to last year. And of course, in the previous cycles where quarter four does tend to be good. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on that. But take a look at this. So Bitcoin has mostly, driven the bearish sentiment in the markets, which obviously we've discussed. Now, market makers are calling for the next bullish phase for crypto as the market has remained sideways and mostly bearish for several weeks, and I believe a rebound is due. In a separate post, crypto analyst Ripple Van highlighted that since XRP has dropped 25% from its July peak of $3.65, signs of a rebound are now compounding. He cited whale accumulation as a bottom indicator. With support at $2.70, he suggests $2.90 is the resistance level Totally agree with that. But I don't even need to look at the price, and I agree with the 290. We spoke about that in my last update. Is a resistance level for XRP to break. If cleared, the next target 370. Meanwhile, he noted this momentum could see XRP extend to $5 price range. Likewise, analyst Dark Defender said XRP has completed its wave 4 correction, which is the technical analysis term, and is ready for a rebound. Dark Defender believes XRP is following a 5-wave Elliott wave pattern and is now entering a bullish 5th wave with a projected target at $4.40. However, the rally depends on XRP holding the $2.85 support, which aligns with the 23.6 Fibonacci retracement level, the good old fib zone that we talk about and we love so much. And shout out to the ZX family that knows about that. Let's kind of pull out the charts. I don't know where the charts have gone. There we are. The 23.6 Fibonacci is exactly where we are. Come on, guys. Give your boy CryptoZX, some credit as well, because I've said quite a bit about this as well. But let's take a look at what's happening with the price. As far as the dominance is concerned, you can see this for yourself. Dominance has pretty much been, pulling quite sharply down from, June levels. Again, something we want to keep in mind. But over the last, I would say, over the last week, maybe, we're seeing the dominance, picking up because, picking up momentum. And that's obviously something we want to keep in mind. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, still down. But, due to BTC's major, moves, again, Bitcoin is in this upward trajectory after retesting the 23.6. But look at these major swings. Major swings that has been having an impact on the broader market, but XRP still holding nicely at this $2.80 range, which a lot of people neglect. Yes, not a lot of interest coming in, but once you crack past these levels, you're going to see everyone try to act like they're the biggest moon boys. Still holding really nicely, like what I'm seeing. You're going to take it one step at a time as far as XRP price is concerned, but do let me know what I share with you guys, what your thoughts are. Love you all. See you later from CryptoZX, and peace out.